Carter grows up in one of New York's richest families, but despite all the wealth, she never receives love or respect from her billionaire father. No matter how hard she works, he constantly tells her she isn't good enough. On her 18th birthday, during a lavish charity gala attended by powerful CEOs, politicians, and celebrities, Emma announces that she wants to study software engineering instead of joining the family business. Furious, her father publicly humiliates her, calling her the biggest mistake I ever made. In front of everyone, he tells her to leave the house if she refuses to obey him. Heartbroken and completely alone, Emma walks out of the mansion with only a small suitcase, no money, no job, and nowhere to go. As she steps into the cold New York night, she silently makes herself a powerful promise that one day she will prove her father wrong and make him regret the day he threw her away. My billionaire father looked me straight in the eyes and said, "You're the biggest mistake I ever made." Then, in front of hundreds of wealthy guests, he threw me out of our mansion. I had nothing except one small suitcase. But 12 years later, that same man walked into my office begging for my help. What happened next changed both of our lives forever.
My billionaire father looked me straight in the eyes and said, "You're the biggest mistake I ever made." Then he threw me out of our mansion in front of hundreds of wealthy guests. I had nothing except one suitcase. But 12 years later, he walked into my office, begging for my help. What happened next changed both of our lives forever. My name is Emma Carter, and if someone had told me that my own father would one day beg me for help, I would have laughed through my tears. I was born into one of the richest families in New York. My father, Richard Carter, built Carter Global Investments from nothing into a billion-dollar empire. Newspapers called him a financial genius. Television channels invited him to speak about leadership and success. To the world, he was an inspiration. At home, he was someone completely different. He believed emotions were a weakness. Every conversation with him felt like a business meeting. He judged people only by results, money, and reputation. As his only daughter, I spent my entire childhood trying to earn his approval. When I brought home straight A's, he asked why I wasn't first in the state. When I won debate competitions, he asked why they weren't national championships. When I volunteered at charities, he called it a waste of time because it didn't make money. No matter what I achieved, I was never enough. The only person who quietly supported me was my mother. But she rarely stood up to him. She feared losing the family she had spent decades trying to protect. Everything changed on my 18th birthday. Instead of a normal celebration, my father organized a luxurious charity gala. At our mansion, the guest list included famous CEOs, politicians, celebrities, investors, and journalists. Crystal chandeliers sparkled above hundreds of elegantly dressed guests, while an orchestra played soft classical music. I stood near the grand staircase, holding a glass of water, trying to gather enough courage to tell my father about my dream. I didn't want to inherit his investment company. I wanted to study software engineering. I wanted to build technology that solved real problems instead of simply making wealthy people richer. When I finally approached him, he smiled politely because cameras were nearby. "Dad," I whispered, "there's something important. I need to tell you." He nodded. "I've decided not to join Carter Global. I want to study computer science and build my own company." His smile disappeared instantly. For several seconds, he simply stared at me. Then he laughed, not quietly, not politely. It was a loud laugh that echoed across the ballroom. The music stopped. Guests turned toward us. Journalists lowered their cameras, sensing drama. My father slowly raised his champagne glass. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, "meet the biggest mistake I ever made." A wave of uncomfortable silence swept through the room. I couldn't believe what I had just heard. He continued speaking. "After everything, I've built my own daughter. Wants to throw away her future. Chasing childish dreams." Some guests looked embarrassed. Others pretended not to hear. Nobody defended me. I looked toward my mother. Tears filled her eyes, but she remained silent. Then my father delivered the words that changed my life forever. "If you leave this family business, you leave this family." Without saying another word, I walked upstairs. I packed a few clothes, my old laptop, several books, and a framed photograph of my mother and me when I was a child. Standing inside my bedroom, for the last time, I realized something. A mansion can be filled with priceless furniture and still feel completely empty. I closed the door behind me and walked outside into the cold New York night with nothing except one suitcase and a dream. No money, no home, no plan, just determination. That night,